Hello everybody, welcome back to another Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus video. Look, today we're spoiling a lot of Booster Pack 5. If you don't want to be spoiled, don't watch the damn video. Okay? Don't go into my comment section and tell me that I'm ruining life and ruining the game. If you don't want to see it, don't watch it. But we are going to go through what every new item is in the game today and show off all of the new stuff. So that's basically all we're gonna do. Let's hop right in. I also do want to reiterate to you guys that for once I'm doing one of these videos live, we're gonna see how it works. Normally I script these videos and make them all fancy and stuff. I just don't have time this week, so this video is going to be unscripted. Okay, item time. The blanket. Blanket is a new item in the game that's going to give you 1 soul heart. And it's also going to give you Holy Mantle when entering into the boss room. So if we do a, let's do a go to special.boss.monstro. When we head into our boss fight here, you're going to see that we have Holy Mantle. So it's pretty neato. You unlock it by sleeping in a bed 10 times. So if you're looking to unlock this item for yourself, then you can, simply just sleep in beds 10 times in Isaac's room, and you will unlock the blanket for your own personal use. It's pretty useful, I suppose, as a defensive item, just to make sure that you have an extra hit on your boss fight. You never know. That could be a make it or break it type thing on a run. Sacrificial Altar. So Sacrificial Altar is one of the actually better modded items on the workshop, and it got added to the game, obviously. But what it does is it will sacrifice your familiars, up to 2 of them, and in turn, it'll spawn you a random Devil Room item. So I have 2 Dark Bombs with me. It's a single-use item. If we pop it, they both turn into Devil Room items. So it's pretty useful if you have a useless familiar like Brother Bobby or Sister Maggie or something like that you're just not really using. You can turn them into some useful items here. Sadly, if you do re-roll them, they do not turn into other Devil Deal items. I'm sure that if you were in a Devil Room, then this would be the case, but not in a normal room here. But pretty interesting item. I kind of like that they added it into the actual game, because I enjoyed it on modded runs. It really it makes you question whether or not your familiars are actually super useful to your run, because for instance, like Farting Baby, I would absolutely get rid of here, and we could, you know, spawn this bad boy back in. I can get rid of him again and say goodbye and get Maw the Void out of it. I mean, that's a top tier kind of scenario, but Little Brimstone is maybe really good for your run, and you want to have that damage from him. So definitely an interesting item. I like that it's in the game. LIL SPEWER Puking Buddy. This little guy just fires out a line of creep. And he makes an adorable sound, which is probably like the best part about him. I kind of like this guy. Creep does do a significant amount of damage to enemies if you can get it right. And this guy definitely, I mean, we can go into a room with combat here. Obviously, this is not the room to be doing it, but any enemies that are running towards you, this guy can probably put a good number of damage on them if you just get it to line up properly. This guy won't be the most useful on your run, but it is a pretty unique item. I'm happy it's in the game. Another familiar that we can sacrifice with the Sacrificial Altar. Okay, I'm a little kidding, but still, probably one that would fall under that category of things you would want to sacrifice. You unlock this guy by killing yourself with Ipecac. I really don't like that. I think that's kind of lame that you gotta kill yourself to unlock this guy, but that's okay. Yeah, he's okay. He also spawns a random pill when you pick him up, which I suppose is a reference to puking. I don't know, man. Marbles. So marbles, I actually kind of like this item. So I was going to spawn you 3 random trinkets upon picking them up. And obviously we got 3 kind of subpar trinkets here. But the important thing is it's not just a trinket giver. When you get hit in a room, there is a chance of you gulping your trinket. So it's like it's in your mouth, you get hit, you get kind of shocked, and that makes you, let's just do a infinite HP here. That makes you possibly swallow your trinket that you have. As you can see, it took like, what, 10 hits for us to swallow it, so it's not super duper overpowered, but it's not necessarily bad. I think it's an interesting way to possibly get yourself a trinket that will be useful on your run. you know, 3 trinkets out of the 150 that are now in the game. Obviously is not going to for sure give you the one that you need every time, but it's not bad. I think it could be useful on a run. Mystery egg. So no, this is not Greg the Egg as many people thought when it initially came out, but what it does do is when I take damage, it's going to spawn a charmed familiar that then's going to fight for me. That's pretty much it. In the next room, the egg regenerates and it'll happen again. It's not a very good item in my opinion. I suppose there's ways that you can make this work to your advantage, such as using Razor Blade or something like that. You know, every room you could essentially get a charmed enemy fighting for you, but I don't know, it just is not very powerful. It's essentially Pokey Go or whatever that item is, just you got to get hit to have it activate. So not really anything to get too excited about in my opinion, but hey, maybe you could find a use for it. Okay, this is the one that everybody's talking about, Flat Stone. So this is essentially the hydrophobicity mod by Mad Dogs, and boy is it a fun item. I mean, I love playing the hydrophobicity mod when it was originally released. It's just enjoyable to have another awesome tier effect in the game. As you can see, your tiers bounce around the room, and then when they bounce, they splash, and that splash also does damage, similar to like a cricket's body splash. It's super fun. There's a bunch of synergies for it. I know one of my favorites is with Ludo, so I'll show you that one. You can control the thing, and it's still bouncing around. It reminds me of skipping rocks with my granddad, and it's just kind of a feel-good item. I can definitely see there being a bunch of fun synergies with this guy on a run, and I'm sure there's some super wacky ones that people are going to find, and it's just going to go crazy. Like, for instance, I'm just curious. This might not actually be a thing. Get rid of Ludo, please. And do these bounce like at the end? Because that would make, they absolutely do, dude. Look at this. It's so cute. So definitely a bunch of fun synergies with that. You can tell that they spent some time to make sure that that item had all the synergies necessary. But super fun. Mad Dogs, congrats for being in the game, buddy. If anybody deserves a mod in the game, it's my boy Mad Dogs. Okay, we got Marrow. So Marrow it's an HP upgrade that gives you a bone heart, and those that don't know what a bone heart is, it's essentially a temporary red heart. So when you get hit 3 times, it completely goes away, but you can continue to recharge it with red hearts, as I just did right there. It also spawns 3 red hearts on the ground when you pick it up. I suppose it's just a way to get a bone heart on a run if that's something that you're super interested in getting, but otherwise this is just a basic HP upgrade. Nothing to really get too excited about, but the fact that it gives you 3 red hearts, if you have someone like Dark Bum or you're having the jar on your run, then I suppose it could be very useful for helping maintain some HP, but in my opinion, nothing to really get too excited about. Slipped Rib. So this is a pretty interesting one. We're now getting into all of the items that are unlockable by doing the post-it note with the Forgotten. But this guy gives you a new orbital. It's a new orbital in the game, and it's going to reject projectiles back at enemies. It doesn't deal contact damage to enemies, as well, I suppose it does contact damage to flies, but it's supposed to not. Yeah, it doesn't do contact damage to normal enemies, but it will project their shots back at them. So kind of an interesting one. We don't have an orbital like this in the game. So it's interesting. Of course, it's not in the right position for me to properly show this off here. I will get it right here. Oh, you spawn freaking flies. You know what? We're gonna do something here. A little live action stuff here. Grab Slipped Rib and then spawn me in a shooter, constant stone shooter. That's the good stuff right there. And then we're just going to show off that this does indeed reflect the shots back at your enemy. So boom, you can kind of push them around. There's a lot of things you can push around on this new booster pack. No spoilers or anything, but I'll end up showing it off in a video because it is probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. But I can see you creating some pretty unique situations with this, saving your ass by having a bullet fly back at an enemy running towards you and killing them. And on Hush, this is probably an insanely good item. Now I want to actually try it because it probably is so damn good. on the Hush fight. Hey, buddy. You want to fire at me? Here, have all your shots back. It's like having the telekinesis item or paws or hand or whatever the hell it's actually called in this game. I knew the mod item was, I believe, telekinesis. But it's like having that, but constantly active as an orbital. It's kind of cool. I like it. Still not sure the usefulness of it, but definitely a unique item, and I'd be happy to have it on a run. They've done it. They've created a poop item in the game that is actually somewhat okay. I say somewhat because not that great. This is Hallowed Ground. And essentially what this does is when we get hit, it's going to spawn a piece of poop, and inside that poop, we have a ridiculously high fire rate. So I can see this being an incredibly useful item with something like Dull Razor, which is, as many people know, one of my favorite items in the game. But if you can fake getting hit to spawn this item, every 2 rooms, you basically have a very high tier rate in a certain position. You know, that makes you, on boss fights, constantly have a really high rate of fire. I think it's a pretty unique item. I don't really necessarily think that I will use it to its full potential on any given run, but min-maxers are going to love this one because you can really make sure that you are full on optimizing your play. If you break the poop, it goes away, so I suppose that's one thing to be careful about. And the aura will sometimes block shots and block damage in it, so that's also kind of cool, but I don't know. I mean, I'm a big fan of tiers in the game. Many people know that. I tend to think that tiers are way more important than damage half the time, which is why I love items like soy milk. But I don't know. It does kind of contain you in one spot, which is also bad. But I like it. It's unique. Pointy rib. So this guy's basically finger, except a little bit better and a little bit more powerful. It's just gonna sway back and forth like so, stabbing enemies, but it does do a pretty significant amount of damage when you're stabbing. It's no mom's knife in the way that it deals its damage, but you can kind of point it in any direction you want, and it's going to deal pretty constant damage to enemies. This is going to be a really good early game item for you. I don't necessarily think that you're going to want to be using this as a main damage dealer on a run, but you know, if we go to the boss fight here and do a little go to stop boss and Monstro, I'm sorry man, but you will feel my wrath. You can see that it does chunk out a decent little bit of damage on Monstro and can make your early game significantly better. I like this item a lot, and I can think of probably a couple more uses of it, and I'm actually kind of curious if we give ourselves this item a couple more times here. So if you give me like 5 more pointy ribs, do I get 5 more? I absolutely do. So with an item like Diplopia, all of a sudden these boys become melting machines, and it is actually, the damage is potent as all hell. You can kind of see right now, and obviously we have 6 of them, but if you can pull lucky on a crooked penny, then you have yourself a mom's knife damage style item that is not mom's knife. So pretty neat. I kind of like it. Book of the Dead. So this one's a little bit interesting, and it is unlocked by doing everything with the Forgotten, so you'd think that it would be a pretty damn good item, and I suppose thematically, Book of the Dead, Rise from the Grave, it's thematically accurate, I suppose, but it's not necessarily good. So when used, it's going to spawn a Bone Orbital or Charmed Bony for each enemy killed in the current room. So we're going to try this out here. I'm still not necessarily 100% sure what this means. So I've killed 1, 2, and then we'll kill 1 more of these guys. And 3, I pop it. I get myself a Bone Orbital. I'm assuming that that's, well, I suppose they stay though. Okay. I understand now. I can get down with this. Let me do a little debug 8 here and give ourselves some infinite item charges. So then pop it again. We get ourselves some more Bone Orbitals. I popped it again, it gave us nothing. So when we use these to attack, okay, when we use them to attack, they go away. Similar to Leprosy. But I suppose if you can keep them throughout rooms, that's significantly better and way more useful. I still don't necessarily think that it's an end-all be-all kind of item, but I suppose a charm bony in each room, him throwing bones at people. If you can stack up an army of those, I mean, imagine doing this item in like the Hush fight where he spawns all the flies. Every time he spawns all the flies, you're getting a ton of orbitals and a ton of bonies to fight on your side. Kind of an interesting idea, actually. Now that I see how exactly this item works, I can see this being pretty useful and relatively fun. It's got kind of a, I'm trying to think of the best reference here, but it's got that create your own horde of enemies to fight for you kind of thing. And I like it a decent amount. I think this item's actually pretty good. Okay, so this is one that is probably going to make people start thinking about the lore of the game again. This is Dad's Ring. So this is now the second dad item that we have in the game, but it puts this yellow ring around us, and then enemies are frozen in place while touching this ring. This seems insanely powerful, dude. I mean, do you see this right now? It's so powerful. You just basically can walk up and freeze everybody. I'm a little bit like confused as to how this item, I mean, I understand this item is insanely good. I'm a little bit confused as to why it's in the game, because it is actually insanely overpowered. Yeah, I mean, that's really all I got. You see this right now? As long as, like, any enemies that rush towards you have zero chance of destroying you. I also have no idea. We're going to see if it works on bosses here. It does work on these little guys, which I probably would have expected. But it's just automatic, dude. It's so damn powerful. You can just stop anything from hitting you. This is borderline. It works on bosses, too. Maybe not. It sometimes works on bosses. Maybe. Could have just been an odd bug. I mean, we froze him up right there. I suppose it sometimes works on bosses. That would have made it a little bit too overpowered. But as a whole, this item is insanely good if you're looking to just annihilate a run really easily and never take damage. Good item for the Lost, good item for the Keeper, good item for the Forgotten, I suppose. But is it fun? I don't know. Honestly, I don't really think that's that fun of an item. So this one's not sad in the slightest. Divorce Papers. It's a tears up because we crying, and it does give us a bone heart, and it also drops mysterious paper on the ground, which we're now assuming are the divorce papers. Kind of a strange item as a whole. Mysterious paper is not that good of a trinket. If it dropped like missing poster, then that would be probably 10 times more useful on a run. But as a whole, I mean, it's another tears up, so I'm not complaining. And they like to find ways to give us bone hearts. I kind of wish there were more items in the game that gave bone hearts, just so you could make them a more standard item, you know, type of consumable in the game for us to be using. I know they can spawn naturally, but the idea of them is really, really great. And I would love to see a couple more items that have them. But oh well, that's okay. Divorce papers are good. It's a tears up. I can't complain. Jawbone. So Jawbone is essentially a boomerang. It literally, you can see it right now. It's all it is a little boomerang that you hold with you that doesn't take up your active item slot like the boomerang normally does. But it does damage to enemies. It is piercing, which is pretty useful. And it can also pick up consumables, and we're going to attempt to show that off shortly. I want to test whether or not it can destroy shopkeepers like the boomerang item can. We're going to try that out as well. But the damage it does is pretty okay. I can see this being pretty good for dealing with enemies at range. You saw what happened when we came into that room and had the bomb guys attacking us. We were able to kind of go at them. I'm going to just bomb out of this room. I want to make it to our shop and see if we can bomb the shopkeeper. This is very important to bomb this damn shopkeeper. And no, this ain't Spelunky. He ain't going to come out and kill us. But if you can use this guy to do all of the things that the boomerang does, not that the boomerang is an item that, you know, you're constantly taking on a run anyway, but if it can do everything that the boomerang can do, then that's one less active item that you could possibly take on your run. There's no reason to take the boomerang if you have Jawbone here. And it's just kind of fun to throw a boomerang, you know? I don't necessarily think it's the best item, but I can see it being one of those like early game items. You get it on an Eden start, and you're like, yeah, okay, cool, we got Jawbone. Let's make some things happen with it. And for that, I can say Jawbone, you're like a C tier item, but you're at least a C tier item that I would use at some point in time. Let's spawn ourselves a shopkeeper and just see if we can kill you. Please be able to kill you. It can't, dude. All right. That's a little bit disappointing. Admin, patch this and make this guy able to do this right now, because that would make me very happy. This does deal 2 times your tier damage to enemies, though, so it will scale as you get better. Is going to get better as well, which is kind of nice. Okay, this is the one that intrigues me the most out of any item in the booster. Besides maybe hydrophobicity, but that's just because I like that item. This is Brittle Bones. So Brittle Bones replaces all of your HP with Bone Hearts. And then every time we lose a Bone Heart, it's going to spew bones in all directions. Compound fracture shot. So we're going to do this right now. I want to slam into the middle of these enemies, and it's going to throw the bones everywhere. Is it necessarily good? I don't know. I mean, obviously it deals a lot of damage to enemies, but when I pick this up, it doesn't give me a Bone Heart back. So you only get to do this 6 times, you know? I can imagine that maybe getting this with the Forgotten is incredible, because every time you then lose HP, it does this, and you're only getting Bone Hearts as your HP. But as a normal character, I think it's kind of useless. You know, you can slam yourself into enemies and get that damage bonus. You know, it makes you wonder. Here, this is something we're going to try. If we spawn this and then go back and give ourselves our good old Razor Blade here and just act like we're getting hit. Oh, okay. Now that might be a bug, actually, because we don't actually get hit here. Let's just give ourselves infinite AP. So if, yeah, okay, so now we gave ourselves Razor Blade. That is not what I want here. That's why this didn't go according to plan. Give me Dull Razor, please. And now hit me. Okay, so no, it doesn't do that. I was gonna say that could be a good synergy, but as a whole, this is really only good as the Forgotten. Other characters are just not gonna benefit from this item the way that you might want to. Okay, I'm not going to super go over the shovel because at this point we probably all know what the shovel does anyway. But you can use the full shovel as a room floor skipper boy. And then the broken shovel also will start the mom feet stomping on you, but when you pop it in a room with it, it's going to stop the mom feet from stomping you. That's really all there is to these items. Obviously, you probably know what they're used for. I'm not going to spoil that in this video. I have a video on it. But if you didn't want to be super spoiled, I'm not going to super spoil it. But you guys know what these items do. So, yeah. There are also 3 new trinkets in the game. Baby Bender, which is going to give your familiars homing shots. This is insanely good with Little Brimstone. I mean, obviously that's a bit of a obvious statement, but you get Little Brim and then have this guy, and you're going to be sitting pretty on your run, honestly. And same with Incubus. Obviously, if you don't have Spoonbender, then Incubus usually doesn't. But I would assume that if we spawned in Incubus here, then he would also have homing shots. So if you had Brimstone or something like that, you could have homing Brimstone with your Incubus, but not have it with your character. So Baby Bender can be pretty powerful if you're rocking a familiar run. You know, Lilith benefits greatly from this trinket. I think that that's a very basic thing to say. We also have Rotten Baby, which is not Rotten Baby, it's Rotten Penny. And Rotten Penny is basically the Rotten Baby of trinkets. Whenever you pick up a penny, it's going to give you a blue fly. There's many ways that you can just bust the game wide open with this trinket. Bombing your donation machine to get a ton of flies to then kill a boss. Obviously, game breaking with Yara gives you just so many flies that you can walk through the rest of the run without dying. there's a lot of positive implications for this trinket. I like that they added it. I think it's going to be fun to see what people can do with it, but pretty damn powerful. And then finally, finger bone, which I actually really like that they added this in, because it will make items like brittle bones more viable. So you have a chance upon getting hit to spawn a bone heart. We're just gonna see. I'm assuming the chance is pretty low. I'm going to give myself infinite HP again. I'm assuming the chance is pretty low to get one. But anything that can spawn you more HP by getting hit is generally considered to be okay. You know, Gimpy is considered to be an okay item. Wow, it really does not like to give you bone hearts, dude. But hey, if you can get bone hearts from it, then those will be useful. Like I said, bone hearts are pretty cool. But, wow, it's like a very low chance. They're not lying when they say small chance. There you go, finally got one. Sheesh, dude. That's a little bit ridiculous. They should bump that up a little bit. But anyway, that's gonna do it for, please get me to a normal room. That's gonna do it for today's video. That's all of the new trinkets and items in the game. There are no new cards. There are no new pills. So there's nothing to really look at there. And obviously I can't go through the thousands of rooms that were added to the game as well. But if you're interested in knowing about the new character, I do have some videos on him as well. But that's every item. Bunch of good ones, bunch of ones that are kind of eh. But as a whole, it adds some new stuff to the game, and that I'm happy about. I'm more excited about the trinkets, to be fair, than I am the items. Those 3 trinkets are pretty damn good, if they pay out with a bone heart occasionally. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, remember to slap that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.